Well, today marks a critical day when it comes to CUSMA negotiations from representatives of the United States, Canada, and Mexico. Took place virtually earlier today, and Canada's Trade Minister Dominic LeBlanc joins us now from Ottawa. Minister LeBlanc, first of all, what was the tone of that meeting earlier today?
Well, thank you, Ian, and happy Canada Day. The tone of the meeting was very constructive. Frankly, it bore no surprises for us. We started by talking about the World Cup. We talked about the game in Mexico City last night. Ambassador Greer talked about the Americans facing off against Bosnia. So the tone was constructive, but it followed an agreed upon script. As you know, Ian, this meeting was prescribed in the CUSMA treaty itself. It was to happen 6 years from the coming into force date. That's why it was Canada Day 6 years ago when the agreement came into force. It was the first moment for the three parties to consider whether to renew for an additional 16 years the term of the agreement. Canada and Mexico, as we have said publicly, were prepared to renew it for 16 years. We both talked about the sectoral tariffs that the United States has applied in 4 key sectors of our economy that, in our view, aren't in conformity with the agreement. But we talked about the work we can also do with the United States to put North America's economy in a better competitive position. So it was a useful but a non-surprising conversation.
But at the end of the day, what changes given the position of the United States?
So, in fact, Ian, in terms of the remaining in force of the CUSMA agreement, the agreement remains in force, as the Americans acknowledged, for another 10 years. This also was prescribed in the text of the treaty itself. We continue to believe that there is an economic benefit to all 3 countries to bring greater certainty to the free trade arrangement between the North American partners. We continue to believe, as do the Mexicans, that the sectoral tariffs that the United States have applied in steel, automobiles, aluminum, softwood lumber are causing considerable economic discomfort in all 3 countries and having a negative effect on consumer prices in the United States. We made that case to Ambassador Greer, and he committed to continuing to do the work with Canada and Mexico that he thinks is necessary to ensure that the treaty, in the view of President Trump and Ambassador Greer, are meeting the expectations that they set for themselves when they themselves negotiated and signed this agreement 6 years ago.
Minister LeBlanc, I know you're in a tough position here because what you say, even in this interview, can make its way back to the White House. But I think a lot of Canadians watching this will be disappointed about the way trade talks are going. And we hear the saber rattling from the president and from his ambassador to Canada, and just feel like we're in a bleak place when it comes to trade with the United States. And today is just one more example of that. What would your response to be?
So we understand, Ian, that very normal reaction that Canadians have. You said saber rattling. That is the right word. That has been a hallmark of this particular American administration, not only in the context of the CUSMA trade arrangement, but in other areas as well. But at the end of the day, the Americans twice have decided to exempt CUSMA-compliant exports to the United States from their reciprocal tariff regime, because obviously it's in the economic interest of all 3 countries because of the integration of supply chains, because of business investment decisions in all 3 countries that benefit North America and all 3 countries. We continue to believe that that basic reality remains intact. But we also recognize, Ian, to go right back to the saber rattling or the uncertainty, we recognize that Canadians expect their government to build a more resilient economy, to make investments and seek investments that will make Canada's economy more competitive, that will diversify our dependency on one trading partner. The Prime Minister has been hugely active in this front. This will be another important week in that work. So we'll continue to do what's necessary, Ian, to protect the Canadian economy from unjustified sectoral tariffs, to make the case for the renewal of an agreement, the trilateral trade agreement that the Ambassador Greer, the United States Trade Representative, referred to publicly as the load-bearing walls of the U.S. economy. So he acknowledges that in our conversations, but they want to make bilateral deals with Canada and Mexico to deal with a number of issues, and we're prepared to have those conversations with them as well. I reiterated that to them today, as did the Mexicans.
Minister LeBlanc, obviously you're working on Canada Day. We appreciate you talking to us.
So are
and I'm
you,
not
Ian.
Sure
so are you.
Yes, but I'm in Banff, right? You're in Ottawa wearing a suit.
I'm in Ottawa,
Banff,
but
not wearing a suit.
I'm going back to your home province of New Brunswick tomorrow, Ian, so it's good.
Okay. Well, a belated Happy Canada Day to you as you celebrate it when you get back home tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you, Ian. Have a great Canada Day.